My name is Aldrich Vu,
And my name is Andrew Yo.
and we did our topic on Biden's foreign policy and his decision to withdraw from the Afghanistan war.
Okay, so we're going to be starting off with the background of the Afghanistan War. So in 1999, the United Nations recognized Al-Qaeda and the Taliban as terrorist organizations, and this was led by Osama bin Laden. And the commander of the anti-Taliban group was assassinated by the Taliban, and this led to the 9/11 attacks. And during 9/11, there were 4 commercial planes that wrecked the Pentagon, the World Trade Center, and one in a field in Pennsylvania. And President Bush then declares the Afghanistan war against these against these terrorist organizations during that time.
And then events like the Battle of Tora Bora, that was when we tried to capture Osama bin Laden. We managed to corner him down for a little bit, but he managed to escape to Pakistan. Battle of Tora Bora, that was considered a victory, as well as the Operation Anaconda. That was when we tracked him down to Pakistan. We managed to kill 500 terrorists, but we had we didn't have a lot of casualties, so that was considered a good win. Okay, in 2009, President Obama is elected, and he decides to send 17,000 more troops to Afghanistan, as well as to continue to provide aid through food rations and military supplies. In 2011, through Operation Neptune Spear, which Obama had authorized, Osama bin Laden is killed, but a result of that is the remaining Al-Qaeda groups and Taliban groups go into hiding, and the Afghanistan government is still under threat from that. In 2013, Afghanistan government is able to contain the terrorists and secure their country temporarily. In 2014, this is when Obama calls for the withdrawal of most of the troops in Afghanistan, and he leaves 10,000 behind to make sure that the Afghanistan government is able to maintain that secure government. But in 2017, Donald Trump is elected, and his original plan is to continue off Obama's withdrawal. But in Kabul, which is the capital of Afghanistan, the Taliban, they killed 115 local citizens there, and this is when Trump decides to use military force by bombing Islamic State militants and sending more troops to Afghanistan.
All right, so the Afghanistan withdrawal under the Biden administration. So Biden creates a policy to remove troops, all of the troops in Afghanistan by September 11, 2021, stating that it's time to, quote, end America's longest war. This was expedited by his policy, and the U.S. decides to leave one of the biggest American air bases in Afghanistan, Bagram Air Base, without telling the new commander that Afghanistan put into place there. And this gives them no access to Bagram Air Base no longer, and U.S. troops are forced to go into the Kabul airport, leaving many American citizens and hostages stranded in this Taliban-infiltrated Afghanistan. And also during the withdrawal, the Taliban takes over more ground, getting closer to the main capitals of Afghanistan, and Biden defends himself by stating that the Afghanistan military could have done better, and that this takeover was not inevitable.
The aftermath of the withdrawal policy. So Joe Biden decides to withdraw the troops without regard for the Afghan citizens. They were left to attempt to flee the country on their own for safety from the Taliban. And in result from this, the massive amount of Afghan citizens trying to leave, they bundled up in Kabul Airport, Kabul Air Base, where The Taliban found this as an opportunity to suicide bomb, which resulted in 169 Afghanistan citizens, 13 U.S. troops dead, and 7 Americans as hostages. And with this fast and hasty withdrawal, this gave no time to fully recover and bring back military property, which included $85 billion worth of guns, Humvees, grenades, and just all that other weaponry. And with these weapons there, they were able to expand their black market and sell all these weapons to other terrorist group affiliates and Al-Qaeda allies. And by then, the Taliban have taken over Kabul. They have complete control over the Afghanistan government, and the citizens have nothing to defend themselves with, while the Taliban have that massive load of weaponry that the U.S. left behind.
All right, so for the political views on the aftermath of the withdrawal, we have what the left says, what the right says, and what other countries say. So what the left says is that Trump was ultimately responsible for Biden's decision to withdraw all the troops from Afghanistan. And this is because he created a policy where only 2,500 troops would remain in Afghanistan and the rest would withdraw. Though it was conditional, he still put that policy into place, giving Biden the opportunity to either make the decision to have a complete withdrawal of the troops or send more troops back into Afghanistan. And of course, he went through with the complete withdrawal of the troops. On the other hand, what the right says is that it was ultimately Biden's fault for his lack of organization over the withdrawal. And they point to the Bagram airport being unattended and kind of wasting the opportunity to utilize it to transport troops back into the U.S. and also putting citizens during this time into danger by delaying their flights back to the U.S. through Kabul. And they also point to the lack of Biden's ability to finish the job as he spent $85 billion of military equipment just to get some of the Americans out safely. Some of what the other countries say is the British Parliament, Prime Minister Boris Johnson condemned President Biden for his lack of military service, and he stated that Biden single-handedly undermined all of the patient and painstaking work of the last presidents. Another foreign country leader, the German chancellor, said that this was one of the biggest issues that NATO has ever faced.
So our view on the Afghanistan withdrawal. So we think that the Afghanistan withdrawal we like the idea that they prioritized the well-being of American soldiers. They cared about the lives of these soldiers. However, there was a lack of organization and care for the well-being of Afghanistan citizens. And we felt like they should have been treated with more care. They should have been given more security before we withdrew our troops. And with that, we also surrendered control of the Bagram Airway. Like we said before, it was the largest military base located in Afghanistan. And by not having control of that anymore, we don't have a secure footing in Afghanistan in the case that anything bad happens there and we want to step in. And that also resulted in the loss of security for the Afghanistan citizens. Like we said before, the bombing at the airports, that could have been prevented as well. Just overall, there was just a horrible execution of the entire withdrawal, especially with the U.S. military assets. Almost $85 billion worth of military weapons, Humvees, and just all that, they were just left in Afghanistan. And the Taliban was just able to recover that. And the amount of money we put into the military was probably more than $85 billion. And it just sucks that we lost so much of that to our enemies, and how the enemies can use that, the Taliban can use that against us and against their own citizens.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.